US President Trump criticized Russia's leader Putin over the bombing of Ukraine on Friday and Saturday night. He made the remarks to journalists at Morristown Airport before returning to Washington on May 25th. This statement came after 2 consecutive nights of large-scale Russian attacks on Ukraine.
I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him. But he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all. President, what do you...
Russia has no intention of ending the war, with between 1,000 and 1,200 people signing military contracts every day. This is according to the head of Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service, Oleg Ivashchenko, in an interview with Ukrinform on May 26th. Russia's mobilization potential is around 25 million people, though only 3 million are considered combat-ready, he stated. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, roughly 1.3 million individuals have been mobilized, with combat losses close to 1 million. While Russia is facing shortages of personnel and equipment, over 1,000 new contracts are being signed every day, indicating preparations for something bigger and not a mobilization for peace, said Ivashchenko. He mentioned that those who join the army can receive up to $40,000, making military service one of the few remaining paths to a stable income in Russia. The German Foreign Minister Johann Vadeful stated that as long as Russia is not demonstrating a willingness to negotiate, Ukraine can rely on its partners. During a joint press conference with his Spanish counterpart in Madrid, he underlined that Ukraine has shown that it's ready to negotiate and for a ceasefire. Vladimir Putin is once again responding to this with an unprecedented hail of missiles and drones. And that shows that he is not ready for peace at this point in time. But we want peace. And the only way to peace is through negotiations and a willingness to negotiate. As long as this willingness does not exist on the Russian side, Ukraine can rely on us. This is a clear European message, both to Kiev as encouragement and to Russia as a warning. There is currently no indication that Russian leader Putin and his inner circle are seriously pursuing a peaceful resolution to Russia's war against Ukraine. This was stated by the Ukrainian president in his evening address on May 26th. Furthermore, Moscow is preparing new offensive operations.
We can see from the information obtained by intelligence and from open-source data that Putin and his entourage do not plan to end the war. There is currently no indication that they are seriously considering peace or diplomacy. On the contrary, there is ample evidence that they are preparing new offensive operations. Russia is counting on a prolonged war, and on their part, this is a blatant disregard for all those around the world who seek peace and are trying to make diplomacy work.
Zelenskyy stated that partners' intelligence services are collecting the same data, and it's important they report this to their leadership. Joint pressure on Russia is what is needed now, added Zelenskyy. The final batch of Dutch F-16 fighter jets designated for Ukraine departed the Netherlands, according to the Dutch Ministry of Defense on May 26th. This completes its donation of 24 F-16s to support Ukraine's defense. With the Netherlands transitioning to F-35s, Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Brekelmans stated the jets are of vital importance for Ukraine to keep Russian aggression at bay for everyone. In addition to the aircraft, military support, including pilot and technician training, spare parts, ammunition and fuel, is also being provided. According to Brekelmans, the F-16s have already contributed to Ukraine's battlefield success, noting the aircraft's use in intercepting cruise missiles and drones. Russia is continuing its attacks on Ukrainian civilians. In the early hours of Tuesday, Moscow troops launched a series of strikes on the Sumy region. The State Emergency Service reported on Telegram that Russian aviation hit a residential area, damaging private homes, an apartment building, and vehicles.
I was still asleep. It was 4:30 in the morning. I heard very strong explosions. A first, a second, and a third. I jumped outside. I didn't notice at first that from this side, the balcony was hit. There was shrapnel in the yard and in the garden. The walls cracked on the second floor. That's the damage we have so far. This is where I jumped outside. I saw that everyone's alive, thank God.
Russian drones also targeted a non-residential building, causing partial destruction of the roof and a subsequent fire, added the SES. Russia's continued attacks on Ukraine show that Moscow has no real interest in peace, stated the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen. During a meeting of Nordic leaders in Finland, she and her counterparts reaffirmed their strong support for Ukraine.
The horrible attacks over the weekend proved that what we unfortunately already know, Russia is not interested in peace. So during the day, Putin talks about negotiations, then he bombs Ukraine during the night. And that is why we have agreed that we have to support Ukraine even more in every way we can, as long as it takes, with military support, investments going directly into Ukrainian defense industry, engage in partnerships with Ukrainian companies, and so on.
Russian forces are deploying a growing number of decoy drones alongside Shahed-type attack drones in order to strain Ukraine's air defense systems. This was reported by the spokesperson for the Ukrainian Air Force Command, Colonel Yuri Ignat. Speaking to RBK Ukraine, Ignat stated that these imitation drones carry no warheads and are launched in significant numbers, up to 40% in recent attacks, to divert and exhaust Ukrainian air defense resources. He noted that Russian forces are also altering drone flight patterns and are launching them at altitudes exceeding 2 kilometers. At those heights, explains Ignat, they descend sharply onto their targets and remain out of reach for small arms mobile fire teams. The United Kingdom will provide $3 billion to Ukraine's defense sector, using profits generated from frozen Russian assets under the G7's Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Initiative. This was reported by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense on May 27. According to the statement, the funds will be distributed over 2025-2026 and used to procure foreign-made defense equipment, critical materials, and to support the repair and maintenance of military hardware. Part of the funding will also support joint projects involving Ukrainian and international defense companies. As the first Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine said, Hiboyev stated, this funding carries not only practical but also symbolic importance, as redirecting profits from Russian assets to bolster Ukraine's defense is both a response to aggression and a recognition of Ukraine's right to self-defense. Moscow has started major naval drills in the Baltic Sea, reported the Russian Ministry of Defense. Over 20 warships, about 25 planes and helicopters, up to 70 units of military and special equipment, as well as 3,000 troops, are involved in these exercises. The vessels have already deployed to the designated areas of the Baltic Sea to perform training and combat tasks. In particular, crews will conduct artillery firing at sea and air targets.